Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I got a 2012 Jeep Grand Cherokee in the shop. It's got a complaint of a loud bang or a loud thunk sound while shifting gears, taking off from a standstill, and also on the highway. You take your foot off the gas like decel, you get back on the gas, and you can hear a thud right underneath your seat. So I'm going to show you, there's a couple culprits for these Jeeps in particular. You have the transfer case chain gets slacked, and also the center carrier bearing gets wiped out, which is the case with this one, but I'll show you. All right, so like I said, two main culprits for a loud thud, taking off, accelerating, decel, shifting gears. So here's the transfer case. I've already checked this, but something to look at if you're trying to diagnose either or, transfer case or drive shaft. The drive shaft is easier. I'll show you that in 1 second. But the transfer case, there's a drive chain in here that actually stretches the factory chain. It's pretty straightforward to replace also, a little time consuming. But you want to grab the output shaft and then just twist it back and forth just to feel the slack. And this has virtually none. So this isn't stretched yet. This truck, believe it or not, 2012 only has 47,000 miles on it, less than 50,000 anyway. Then we'll come back to the drive shaft, and you'll see the center carrier bearing. You're gonna wanna take off, there's a heat shield that I've already removed. Very simply, two 10mm nuts. Drop this, do soak these studs well before you take them off, and take your time rocking them back and forth to get them out so you don't snap them. And then the center carrier bearing, I don't know if you can notice it, this is actually not centered in that center carrier bearing because it's completely wiped. So that's kind of a dead giveaway. So I'm gonna replace that. The exhaust does have to come down. So you take off that heat shield. I gotta get the exhaust down. There's another heat shield in the way. And then we can actually get to taking that center carrier bearing out. And then each end of the drive shaft, obviously bolted to the yokes, you want to get those off. Something to think of too, you can see the yellow paint. This is so rusted I can't see yellow paint on it. So I'm going to mock this very well, because the brand new drive shaft is going to have a yellow mark or some kind of arrow, a white mark, whatever. And you want to keep it balanced, so you want to match those markings. So like I said, I can zoom in. You can't see anything. So I'm just going to scribe right on here, straight line all the way across. So when I take it off, I can have it indexed correctly. Another thing you want to do while you're waiting, getting your tools or your parts and whatnot, I'm just going to soak these hangers so I can pop these hangers off for the exhaust. And I'm also going to soak these studs for the exhaust so I don't snap them, getting them off. This is the new drive shaft. So I got this from O'Reilly's. I did not get a Mopar factory shaft. This is a precision shaft. I do like Precision's parts. I mean, the fact that the factory one didn't make 50,000 miles, I'm not really gonna try a factory one again. Although it is rubber and the rubber degrades over time. Just maybe it's bad engineering, I don't know. But I'm gonna go with the Precision. This is a D76970. That's the part number for this Precision part. But you do have to be careful. You're gonna wanna call your dealer and get the 3-digit rear axle code. There's three different drive shafts that these trucks came with, depending on the options. So you're gonna get a code of either DHY, which is a single speed transfer case, 2.5-inch tube. You're gonna have a code of DRH, which is the right one for this Jeep. It's a DRH 3-inch with 195mm rear axle. And then the other one is DPP, which is a 215mm rear axle, and that's also a 3-inch tube. So you want to make sure you get the right one. Just call the parts department, say you want your sales code for your rear axle, give you a VIN number, and they're going to tell you what it is. So I got the right drive shaft. I got everything soaking. I'm going to take the old one out. All right, so first things first, I'm going to try to get these 4 nuts off these studs for the exhaust. I did put a wrench on it. I can feel that they're pretty hard. I feel like I'm going to break the studs, which I don't want to do. These are probably welded in, so you have to grind them out, get new hardware. So I'm actually going to hit the 4 nuts with MAP gas, see if that'll help release them, and then I'll get these off. All right, so as you can see, I got the first one backed fully off. It's still hot. I did use the MAP gas. I highly recommend heating these up or you're gonna snap the studs. So I'm gonna do the same thing to the other three, heat them up, back them off, and then I'm gonna work on the hangers and dropping this exhaust and getting it out of the way. All right, so as you can see, I got the muffler sitting on a stand. The back hangers, one of them you can access pretty easily. I'll just show you. This guy here. So you got this one, I just pushed it up out of the way, but the other one for this muffler is all the way up underneath against the bumper. So looking at it from the outside, it's like right here. Possibly taking the wheel well out, you can get your hand in there and pry it off, or you gotta take this piece off, I'm not sure. I just decided to leave it. It was enough getting this one off and then just using a stand and letting it rest on the stand. So that's what I'm gonna do. And also these on each side of the muffler, instead of prying these, trying to yank these off with limited access, I ended up just unbolting it from the frame. So this bracket right here just has 2 bolts. I soaked them and then just walked them, loosened them up, tightened them, loosened them up, tightened it to not snap the bolt, which generates heat. So I just kept going back and forth to the bolt, really babying them out so they wouldn't snap. So I got lucky there, but I'm sure you probably could finagle it and pry this rubber off. It's so short that it doesn't have a ton of flex. So I didn't think it was gonna pop out enough. So I tried the bolts instead, but either way, I'm sure you can get it off. So I just soaked with penetrating fluid the 4 nuts holding this heat shield on. I'm gonna get that off and then we can start unbolting this guy. All right, as you can see, the heat shield's down. And here's a shot of the old drive shaft. Pretty straightforward. When it says 3-inch, this is the tube it's looking at right here. So if you're questioning what you have and you're not calling the dealer, you can measure this, but there's still 2 more options, so you're better off calling. You can see the paint marks they have in front and rear. I marked it with a paint marker also, but looking at the aftermarket shaft, I don't see any markings anywhere. So I don't think there's anything to line up with the aftermarket shaft. I'm gonna double check that, but as of now, I'm just gonna work on getting this out. I'm gonna get these Allen cap screws out, both ends first, to help support it, and then I'll take out that center carrier bearing and try to get this thing on the ground. All right, so I worked on the transfer case side first, and just to give you guys an idea of how I broke this free, because I'm sure this will be an issue for some of you guys. You can see the hammer and mocks. First, I tried just catching the edge to try to get it to cock itself. That didn't work. I tried going all the way around, hitting it. Nothing would get it to release. And again, it's a New England truck, so it does have some rust. So what I ended up doing was taking the MAP gas and heating this flange side, just the flange on the transfer case, not cherry red, just put a little heat on it. And then I ended up taking a cold chisel. You could probably see the chisel mark right there. So I ended up hitting it with a cold chisel, kept driving it straight in first to try to get that indent on the axle shaft itself, and then I just laid the chisel down and then gave it one good whack, and it actually took the face of the axle and popped it right out. So now it's free. So just an idea. I kind of wish that they had like jack and bolts or something in there to be able to get these things to pop, but you do have a hard time with them. Also, I did soak it with penetrating fluid with everything else when I was soaking it, and it still wouldn't release. And you could see it only goes in about 1/4 of an inch or so, but it's enough that it locks on there, especially with the rust. But just something to think of. So now I'm gonna work on the rear end, the rear axle, same thing, getting that flange to pop. And then I'll do the center carrier bearing to get this thing on the bench and compare the two. All right, so as you can see, I got the drive shaft out. There's a couple of things I wanted to note. This center carrier bearing, both these bolts were locked up. They were seized pretty hard. I was able to back them out maybe 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch on both sides, and they got really tight. I kept putting penetrator fluid inside it here, hoping it would get to it. And then as I'd back the bolt out, I would soak it, push it back in, get it back out, hopefully a little bit more, soak it again. I did that on both sides. It took quite a bit of time. I probably spent a good 20 minutes if not longer, trying to get these out without breaking them, because if you do break them, as you can see, you're pretty screwed. There's those are welded in. They're spot welded right there. There's no backside, so they're solid. So if you broke this and you drilled it, you'd have to drill and tap it, or you'd have to put a window inside the steel to get a nut inside of there, and then you'd have to weld it up. So it's definitely gonna turn into a project if you break them. Just really take your time. Like I said, mine were very seized and I was able to get them out. So that was helpful. Another thing I did too, the carrier bearing, I cut the ears off the bearing and got the drive shaft right out of the way so that I could concentrate with no weight on the bolts. So it was just the 2 bolts, no drive shaft. That helped a lot. This rear flange, same deal. I used a cold chisel after I got all the bolts out. Put a little indent in the yoke itself. Then I put the cold chisel on an angle away from the diff, gave it a whack, and it popped right out. So I did clean those up with emery cloth. I cleaned up this flange with emery cloth, so that's ready to go. I also took some Scotch-Brite, cleaned up the exhausts, both sides. I'll end up putting Never-Seez on any stud when I'm reassembling, especially the carrier bearing. I'll heavily put anti-seize on there so they don't gall up going in, and also if it ever has to come back out again, it'll have a fighting chance to not be seized. The both flanges, they already have like that green silicone on there. I might just put a dab of Loctite, blue Loctite on the ends of them before I torque them down. But take a look at the old drive shaft versus the new. So here's the old drive shaft. Like I said, I cut the ears off the center bearing. Show you on the new one what I'm talking about. These guys right here, I just cut them off on an angle just to take the weight off the heads of the bolts. Well, there's a new shaft, 3-inch to the carrier bearing, then it tapers down. And you look at this one, it's the same deal. So got the right shaft out of the 3. Like I said, just call the dealer and get the right code so you can get the right one the first time. But I'm just gonna reverse the process, put this guy back together, and take it from there. All right, well, that's a wrap. Got it all back together, took it for a ride. Sounds good, drives good. I think it was pretty obvious what the issue was. It's nice and solid now. I did torque for torque specs. The front and rear bolts were 45 foot-pounds, and then the center carrier was 35. I rounded up. It was like 32 and 42, 41, something like that. But I just rounded up to 45 and 35. Everything went back together well. Everything was clean. Like I said, anti-seized what needed to be anti-seized. I put a little bit of muffler paste on this flange before I put it back together. Again, anti-seized everything I could. But yeah, hopefully this video helps you out, saves you some money, gives you some insight before you tear into this. It sounds like a simple job replacing a drive shaft, but to do this in the driveway on the ground, you're gonna be fighting it a little bit. But if this video helps you, think about liking and subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.